The autumn wind whispered through the aspen trees surrounding Maya Patel's clinic, their golden leaves catching the last rays of sunset. She stood at her office window, absent-mindedly rubbing the scarred tissue along her left hand, a reminder of her time as a combat medic in the Mars colonial wars. The small town of Eagles Rest, Colorado, population 2,187, had been her sanctuary for the past 3 years, far from the chaos of interplanetary conflicts and cutting-edge medical facilities where she'd once worked. The soft chime of her clinic's door pulled her from her reverie. Strange, her last appointment had ended an hour ago. Maya turned, expecting Mrs. Rodriguez making another emergency visit for her chronic back pain. Instead, she froze, her breath catching in her throat. A being glided into her clinic, seated in what appeared to be a hovering chair made of shifting mercury. The visitor's skin was the color of deep ocean waters, with iridescent patterns that seemed to pulse with internal light. Despite the alien features, there was an undeniable grace to the figure, distinctly feminine, with elongated limbs and features that seemed to follow the golden ratio a bit too perfectly. Dr. Maya Patel. The voice was melodious, with harmonics that shouldn't have been possible from a single vocal cord. I am Ambassador Lyra Vex of the Nexus Federation. Your reputation for solving impossible cases has reached quite far. Maya's training kicked in, pushing aside her surprise. Just Maya is fine. And I'm afraid my reputation might be exaggerated. I'm just a small-town physical therapist now. The neural regeneration techniques you pioneered during the Mars colonial wars suggest otherwise. Lyra's silver eyes fixed on Maya with unsettling intensity. As does your research into bioelectric field manipulation in trauma recovery. That work is classified, Maya said sharply, her hand unconsciously clenching. And I left it behind for good reasons. Yet here you are, still healing, still pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Lyra's chair glided forward smoothly. I've spent 10 years unable to walk. I've consulted the finest medical minds across 3 galaxies. None have helped. But you. She paused, her silver eyes seeming to look straight through Maya's carefully constructed walls. You see possibilities where others see limitations. Maya moved to her desk, trying to maintain professional distance. What exactly happened? And why come to Earth for treatment when your people's medical technology is centuries ahead of ours? Perhaps that's precisely the problem. Lyra manipulated a control panel on her chair, bringing up a holographic display of her neural system. 10 years ago, I was investigating an anomaly in these very mountains. There was an incident. When I awoke, I had lost all motor function below my thoracic region. Despite no detectable damage to my neural pathways. Maya studied the hologram, her scientific curiosity overtaking her reservations. The Nexian nervous system was fascinatingly complex, multiple redundant pathways, quantum-entangled neurons, and what appeared to be bioelectric amplification nodes. Your people's medical technology relies heavily on quantum manipulation, doesn't it? Yes. Which is why this case has baffled our healers. All attempts at quantum neural reconstruction have failed. Sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the right one, Maya mused, already noting patterns in the neural layout. When you can't see the forest for the trees, you need to step back and look at the whole picture. She approached Lyra's chair, her healer's instincts taking over. May I? At Lyra's nod, Maya placed her hands gently on the alien's shoulders. Years of experience had taught her to feel the subtle energy flows in the body, human or otherwise. Under her touch, she sensed something unusual, a discordant pattern, like music played slightly out of key. There's something. Maya closed her eyes, focusing on the sensation. Your neural pathways aren't damaged, they're desynchronized. Like an orchestra where each section is playing in a different time signature. Lyra's skin pulsed with sudden brightness. In 10 years, no one has described it so accurately. That's exactly how it feels. Maya withdrew her hands, mind racing with possibilities. Your quantum medical techniques might be too precise, too focused on individual pathways. Sometimes healing requires a broader approach, working with the body's natural rhythms rather than trying to force them. And you believe you can help? I don't know, Maya answered honestly. But I have some ideas. It would require combining my background in neural regeneration with some unconventional techniques I've developed since then. And I'll need to study everything you can tell me about Nexian physiology. The Nexus Medical Council will object strongly to sharing such information with a human healer, Lyra said, though her tone suggested this wasn't a deterrent. Then we don't tell them. The word surprised Maya even as she said them. After years of playing it safe, why was she suddenly willing to risk everything? But something about this case, about Lyra herself, called to the part of her that had once revolutionized trauma care on Mars. A smile curved Lyra's iridescent features. Dr. Patel, I believe you're suggesting we conspire to violate multiple interplanetary medical protocols. Maya, she corrected again. And yes, I suppose I am. Though I should warn you, my methods can be intense. And I'll need your complete trust. You already have it. Lyra's silver eyes seemed to glow brighter. Though I should warn you in return, this could draw unwanted attention from both our governments. Are you prepared for those consequences? Maya looked down at her scarred hand, remembering the last time she'd pushed medical boundaries. But she also remembered the lives she'd saved, the innovations she'd achieved. Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs came from taking risks. Treatment starts tomorrow, she said firmly. After hours. Bring whatever medical data you can. And Lyra? She met those silver eyes steadily. We're going to figure this out. Together. As Lyra's hover chair glided out into the darkness, Maya began pulling her old research files from encrypted storage. The quiet life she'd built in Eagle's Rest was about to become considerably less quiet. But for the first time in years, she felt truly alive again. Sometimes the most remarkable journeys began with a single touch, and the courage to see possibilities where others saw only limitations. 2 weeks into their secret treatment sessions, Maya's clinic had transformed into something between a medical research lab and a meditation sanctuary. Holographic displays of Nexian neural pathways floated in the air, while incense burned in carefully placed holders, part of Maya's unconventional approach to energy alignment. Your pulse is different tonight, Maya noted, her fingers pressed gently against Lyra's wrist. The ambassador's skin shimmered with subtle patterns of light that Maya had learned to read like a diagnostic chart. Something's troubling you. Lyra's silver eyes flickered to the window, where the mountain shadows stretched long in the evening light. The Nexus Medical Council is growing, suspicious. They've noticed gaps in my medical monitoring data during our sessions. Maya continued her examination, moving her hands along the complex network of neural nodes in Lyra's spine. We knew they would eventually. But we're making progress, look. She gestured to a holographic readout showing neural activity patterns. The desynchronization is slowly stabilizing in your lower thoracic region. Yes, but Lyra's words cut off in a sharp intake of breath as Maya's fingers found a particular spot. That felt different. Maya focused on the area, applying pressure in a circular motion while channeling the bioelectric field techniques she developed during the war. Under her hands, she could feel the quantum neural pathways humming like discordant strings waiting to be tuned. Try to move your right toe, she instructed softly. Lyra's face showed the familiar concentration, but this time something changed. The smallest twitch, barely visible, but definitely there. Both women froze. Did you see that? Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. I did. Maya fought to keep her professional composure, but excitement bubbled beneath her calm exterior. The combination of pressure point stimulation and bioelectric field manipulation is creating new neural response patterns. Your body is starting to remember how to dash. A sharp knock at the clinic's door made them both jump. Maya quickly shut down the holographic displays while Lyra's hoverchair reconfigured from examination mode. Dr. Patel. A man's voice called through the door. This is Agent Daniel Wright, Earth Diplomatic Security Service. We need to speak with you. Maya's heart raced, but years of combat medicine had taught her to think clearly under pressure. She grabbed her tablet, quickly saving their session data to a secure partition. Back door, she mouthed to Lyra, gesturing toward her private office. But before either could move, the door swung open. Two men in dark suits entered, followed by a tall figure Maya instantly recognized as Nexian, their characteristic iridescent skin darker and more angular than Lyra's, wearing what appeared to be some kind of official uniform. Ambassador Vex, the Nexian said, his tone carrying harmonics of disapproval. The medical council was most disturbed to learn of these unauthorized treatments. Medical Overseer Karn. Lyra's voice was cold. I wasn't aware my personal medical choices required council approval. They do when they involve sharing restricted physiological data with an uncleared human practitioner. Karn's silver eyes fixed on Maya with obvious disdain. Dr. Patel, you are ordered to cease all treatment of Ambassador Vex immediately and surrender any data you have collected. Maya stepped forward, positioning herself between the officials and her patient. With all due respect, Overseer, medical privacy laws on Earth protect doctor-patient confidentiality. Any data I've collected belongs to Ambassador Vex, not the Council. Dr. Patel, Agent Wright interrupted, this is a matter of interplanetary security. Your cooperation would be strongly advised. We're making progress, Lyra said sharply. Real progress, for the first time in 10 years. The Council's methods have failed. Why not allow Dash? Because letting humans experiment with Nexian physiology could have catastrophic diplomatic consequences, Karn cut her off. Surely you understand this, Ambassador. Your position requires you to set an example. Maya felt her patience snap. Experiment? I've spent every night for 2 weeks studying Nexian medical texts, cross-referencing neural response patterns, and developing targeted treatments based on both our species' understanding of healing. Meanwhile, your approved methods have left Ambassador Vex paralyzed for a decade. Maya, Lyra warned softly, but Maya wasn't finished. You talk about diplomatic consequences. What about the consequence of letting pride and prejudice prevent medical breakthroughs? We just achieved voluntary motor response, something your quantum treatments never managed. But instead of being curious about how or why, you're here trying to shut us down. A tense silence followed her outburst. Agent Wright shifted uncomfortably while Karn's skin darkened with what Maya had learned to recognize as anger. Show me. Lyra's voice cut through the tension. Everyone turned to look at her. Show them, she repeated, meeting Maya's eyes. Show them what we achieved tonight. Maya understood. Moving slowly, telegraphing her actions to the anxious agents, she approached Lyra. May I? At Lyra's nod, she placed her hands on the now familiar points along her spine. Watch her right foot, Maya instructed. She closed her eyes, focusing on the energy patterns she'd learned to feel, applying pressure and channeling the subtle bioelectric field. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Lyra's toe twitched, definitely, visibly moved. Karn made a sound of surprise, his anger forgotten. Agent Wright leaned forward, squinting. Maya continued the treatment, and this time several toes flexed slightly. Impossible, Karn breathed. The neural damage dash. Isn't damage at all, Maya said quietly, maintaining the pressure point contact. It's desynchronization. Your quantum treatments were too precise, trying to fix individual pathways instead of restoring the body's natural rhythms. Sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the right one. She felt Lyra's hand cover hers, warm and supportive. The Council has a choice, Lyra said firmly. You can shut this down, destroy all record of our progress, and I return to my hover chair for another decade. Or She paused meaningfully. You can officially sanction this research, document these results, and potentially open new avenues of healing for both our species. Karn's silver eyes darted between them, his skin shifting through patterns Maya couldn't quite read. Finally, he straightened. Agent Wright, I believe we can classify this as a supervised medical collaboration. With proper oversight, of course. The human agent nodded, clearly relieved to avoid an interplanetary incident. I'll update the diplomatic registry accordingly. As the officials left, Maya finally let out the breath she'd been holding. That was close. Indeed. Lyra's skin pulsed with what Maya now recognized as amusement. Though your impassioned speech was quite impressive. Defending my honor like a character in one of your human romance tales. Maya felt heat rise in her cheeks. I was defending science. And proper medical care. And she stopped as she noticed Lyra's expression. You're teasing me. Perhaps. Lyra's hover chair hummed as it moved closer. Though I meant what I said about the progress we're making. Not just with my condition, but other barriers as well. Maya found herself caught in that silver gaze, suddenly very aware of how close they were standing. The air seemed charged with more than just bioelectric fields. We should document tonight's breakthrough, she said quickly, stepping back toward her tablet. If we're going to have official oversight now, we need proper records. Of course. Was there a hint of disappointment in Lyra's harmonics? Though Maya. Thank you. For being willing to fight for this. For me. Maya looked up from her tablet, allowing herself a small smile. Always. Now, let's show them exactly what happens when human intuition meets Nexian wisdom. I have a feeling we're just getting started. As they worked late into the night, Maya couldn't help but wonder what other barriers, medical, diplomatic, and personal, they might break together. Sometimes the greatest discoveries came not from either human or alien knowledge alone, but from the space in between, where two worlds met and something entirely new could grow. The mountain winds howled outside Maya's clinic as she studied the three-dimensional scan hovering above her desk. Something about the pattern of neural disruption had been bothering her for days, a nagging sense that she was missing something obvious. Your brow gets this little crease when you're puzzled, Lyra observed from her hover chair. Just there. She reached out, her iridescent finger nearly touching Maya's forehead before catching herself and pulling back. Maya ignored the flutter in her chest at the almost contact. These patterns don't make sense. The desynchronization isn't random, there's a structure to it, almost like. Like what? Like it was designed. Maya manipulated the hologram, highlighting specific neural pathways. See these resonance patterns? They're too precise to be accidental trauma. Something caused this deliberately. Lyra's skin darkened, the usual shimmer becoming muted. That's not possible. The medical council would have Would they? Maya turned to face her patient, her friend, if she was honest with herself. You never told me exactly what happened in these mountains 10 years ago. What were you investigating? It's classified. The response came too quickly, too practiced. Lyra. Maya moved closer, her voice softening. We've made incredible progress, but we're hitting a wall. If I'm going to help you walk again, I need the whole truth. The silence stretched between them, filled only by the wind's mournful song. Finally, Lyra's hover chair glided to the window, looking out at the snow-capped peaks silhouetted against the night sky. 10 years ago, we detected an energy signature unlike anything in our databases. Not Nexian, not human, not any known species. Her silver eyes reflected the distant starlight. I was sent to investigate because of my expertise in xenoarchaeology, the study of artifacts left by civilizations that predate both our species. Maya sat on the edge of her desk, processing this. You're saying there was evidence of an ancient civilization here? In Colorado? This planet is far older than humanity's brief tenure on it. Lyra's skin rippled with patterns Maya had learned to associate with deep memory. We found a chamber, buried deep in the mountain. The walls were covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change when you looked at them. And in the center. She paused, her hoverchair humming quietly as she turned back to Maya. There was a device, a pillar of what looked like liquid metal. It responded to my presence, started to activate. I reached out to touch it, and then. She gestured to her paralyzed legs. The next thing I remember was waking up in a Nexian medical facility. And no one could explain what the device did to you. Maya was already pulling up new scans, looking at them with fresh eyes. The chamber collapsed in the incident. The device was lost, the symbols buried. The official report blamed a natural seismic event, and my condition was classified as neural trauma from the cave-in. Lyra's voice carried a hint of bitterness. But you're right, this was no accident. The device did something to me, rewrote my neural patterns for some purpose we don't understand. Maya stood abruptly, excitement overtaking her professional detachment. That's why conventional treatments failed. They were trying to heal damage that wasn't there. This isn't injury or disease, it's reprogramming. She quickly manipulated the holographic displays, overlaying multiple scans. Look, your neural pathways aren't broken, they're being held in a specific configuration. Like a lock. A lock implies a key, Lyra mused, her own scientific curiosity engaged. Exactly. And if we can understand the pattern. Maya's fingers flew over the controls, highlighting specific nodes. We're not trying to heal you, we're trying to decrypt you. A sudden bang from the back of the clinic made them both jump. Maya spun around as her office door burst open. 3 figures entered, 2 in unmarked black tactical gear, the third wearing an environment suit that obscured their species. Step away from the ambassador, the suited figure ordered, their voice distorted by their helmet speaker. Maya moved instinctively to protect Lyra, but found herself frozen in place as a wave of energy washed over her. Some kind of paralysis field, her analytical mind noted even as her muscles refused to respond. The council said you were getting too close. The suited figure approached Lyra, who was similarly immobilized. We can't allow you to unlock the device's secrets. The consequences would be unfortunate. You knew, Lyra accused, fighting against the paralysis. The council knew what that artifact did to me. Of course we knew. We've been studying its effects through you for a decade. A perfect, living sample. They turned to Maya. Dr. Patel, your innovative approach to treatment almost ruined years of careful research. We can't have that. Maya struggled to speak through the paralysis. You used her as a lab rat? For the greater good. The device's programming holds secrets that could revolutionize neural technology. Or prove catastrophically dangerous in the wrong hands. The figure produced a small device. Unfortunately, your treatment has progressed too far. We'll have to start fresh. No. Maya wasn't sure if she actually shouted or just thought it. But something inside her snapped. All her years of studying energy fields, of understanding the body's electrical patterns, crystallized in a moment of desperate inspiration. She reached out, not with her frozen muscles but with the bioelectric field she'd learned to manipulate in her treatments. The paralysis field rippled around her as she pushed against it, using the same principles she'd discovered while working with Lyra's neural patterns. The suited figure's helmet snapped toward her. Impossible. A human couldn't. Maya felt something give way, like a key turning in a lock. The paralysis field shattered. She staggered forward, grabbing the nearest piece of medical equipment, a neural scanner, and swung it at the figure's helmet. The impact cracked their faceplate, revealing a glimpse of iridescent skin before chaos erupted. Lyra's hoverchair suddenly pulsed with brilliant light, some kind of defensive system activating. The tactical team raised weapons, but Maya was already moving, decades of combat medical training taking over. She slammed her hand onto the clinic's emergency lockdown control, plunging the room into darkness except for the glow of Lyra's chair and the intruder's equipment. In the confusion, she heard the distinctive sound of a teleport activator spinning up. "This isn't over," the suited figure warned as they and their team vanished in a flash of light. Maya rushed to Lyra, checking her for injuries. "Are you all right?" "Thanks to you." Lyra caught Maya's hands in hers, the contact sending tingles up Maya's arms that had nothing to do with bioelectric fields. "You never cease to amaze me. A human who can break through a quantum paralysis field. I had a good teacher." Maya squeezed Lyra's hands. "All those nights studying Nexian neural patterns taught me a few tricks. Though I'm more concerned about what we just learned. The Council has much to answer for." Lyra's skin pulsed with patterns Maya recognized as determination. "But they also revealed something crucial: the device's programming can be unlocked. And thanks to your brilliant insight about encryption patterns, we might have a chance to do it safely, on our terms." Maya was already thinking ahead. "But they'll be back. With bigger weapons and better paralysis fields. Then we'll need help." Lyra's silver eyes gleamed. "I have contacts in the Nexian diplomatic corps who oppose the Council's more extreme methods." "And you?" Maya thought of her old unit from the Mars colonial wars, especially her former commanding officer who now worked in Earth's Xenotechnology division. "I know some people who owe me favors. People who'd be very interested in learning about unauthorized Nexian operations on Earth. So we continue. Even knowing the risks." Maya looked at their still joined hands, human and alien, yet fitting together perfectly. "We continue. Not just for your healing anymore, but for the truth. Whatever that device was meant to do, it shouldn't be weaponized by people who see you as a test subject." Lyra's skin brightened with that inner light that never failed to captivate Maya. "Then we'd better get back to work. We have neural patterns to decrypt, conspiracies to expose, and—" She smiled. "I still need to learn how to walk again." All in a day's work, Maya quipped, but her heart raced with equal parts fear and excitement. She had started this journey hoping to help one patient. Now she was uncovering ancient mysteries and fighting secret organizations. And strangest of all, she wouldn't have it any other way. As they bent over the neural scans together, the mountain winds continued their eternal song outside. But now they seemed less lonely, more like a warning to those who would stand in the way of two beings from different worlds, united in their quest for healing, truth, and perhaps something more that neither was quite ready to name. Dawn broke over the Rockies as Maya finished setting up the makeshift lab in her friend Jack's cabin. After the attack at her clinic, they needed somewhere off the grid to continue their work. Her former combat medic teammate had been surprisingly understanding when she'd called in that favor, asking no questions about why she needed a secure location or why her patient was an iridescent alien ambassador. "The encryption pattern is evolving," Lyra observed, watching the neural scan hologram pulse with complex rhythms. A week had passed since their confrontation with the Council's agents, a week of breakthrough after breakthrough as they decoded the ancient device's programming. "It's like a living algorithm," Maya agreed, making adjustments to their monitoring equipment. The cabin's main room had been transformed into a combination of medical bay and research lab, with both human and Nexian technology humming in harmony. "Every time we unlock one layer, it reveals new complexities. And new abilities." Lyra demonstrated by wiggling her toes, something that would have been impossible 2 weeks ago. She could now move both feet and had regained partial sensation up to her knees. "Though I still don't understand how you're able to interface with the patterns so effectively. No human should be capable of manipulating quantum fields the way you do." Maya paused in her work, considering how to explain something she barely understood herself. "During the Mars colonial wars, I was exposed to an experimental regeneration field. It was supposed to accelerate healing, but it changed something in me instead. That's why I left the military. The brass wanted to study me, figure out how to replicate the effects. And now you can sense and influence bioelectric fields. Lyra's silver eyes studied her with new understanding. We're more alike than I thought. Both changed by technology we don't fully comprehend. Maybe that's why this is working. Maya moved to Lyra's side, placing her hands on the now familiar points along her spine. Ready to try something new? Lyra's skin rippled with anticipation. Always. Maya closed her eyes, reaching out with her enhanced senses to feel the complex dance of quantum particles and bioelectric fields that made up Lyra's nervous system. The ancient device's programming was there, its patterns more familiar now after countless hours of study. But today she pushed deeper, trying to understand not just the what but the why. There's something. She frowned in concentration. It's like the program is waiting for something. A specific sequence or trigger. I feel it too, Lyra whispered. Like a door about to open. Maya adjusted her pressure points, channeling her own energy in a pattern that matched the quantum rhythms she sensed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then she felt it, a shift, subtle but profound, like tumblers falling into place in an ancient lock. Lyra gasped. Golden light burst from her skin, filling the cabin with a brilliant glow. Maya tried to pull back, but Lyra caught her hands. Don't let go. Energy surged between them, neither fully human nor Nexian but something entirely new. Maya's consciousness expanded, touching something vast and ancient. Images flooded her mind, a civilization that had mastered the connection between mind and matter, beings of pure energy and infinite possibility, a gift left behind for those who might one day be ready. The cabin door burst open. Maya spun, still holding on to Lyra, to see Medical Overseer Karn leading a team of council agents. But something was different, his skin glowed with the same golden light that now surrounded Lyra. So it's true, he breathed. The awakening is beginning. The what? Maya demanded, instinctively stepping between him and Lyra. What the council has waited centuries for. Karn's voice held something like reverence. The device wasn't meant to harm, Ambassador Vex. It was preparing you, preparing all of us. But it required a catalyst, a bridge between different forms of consciousness. His silver eyes fixed on Maya. A human with the ability to touch quantum fields. You knew. Lyra's voice shook with anger. All these years, you knew what the device was meant for. We suspected. But we couldn't be certain until. He gestured at the golden light that now seemed to pulse between Maya and Lyra like a living thing. This is why we had to wait, had to study the process through you. The transformation had to happen naturally, with the right combination of elements. Maya felt Lyra's hand tighten on hers. Transformation into what? Before Karn could answer, a new sensation washed over them all. The golden light intensified, and Maya felt her consciousness expanding again, touching not just Lyra's mind now but all the Nexians present. Understanding flooded through her, the device had been left by an ancient race, one that had transcended physical form. They had seeded multiple species with the potential for similar evolution, waiting for the moment when different forms of consciousness could bridge the gap between matter and energy. The next step in evolution, Karn whispered. But it was never meant for just our species. The bridge had to be built between worlds. Maya turned to Lyra, seeing her own wonder and fear reflected in those silver eyes. Your paralysis was never paralysis at all, Lyra finished. It was metamorphosis, waiting for the right moment, the right connection. The golden light pulsed again, stronger now. Maya felt something shifting, changing at the quantum level. But instead of fear, she felt only certainty. Whatever was happening, they would face it together. The council's agents, she remembered suddenly. The ones who attacked us. Rogue elements who feared change, Karn admitted. They've been dealt with. We couldn't let them stop what was meant to be. Maya looked down at her hands, now glowing with the same golden light that surrounded Lyra. The energy field between them had become visible, a bridge between species, between different forms of existence itself. Years of healing work, of understanding the body's hidden energies, had led her to this moment without her even knowing it. What happens now? She asked, though part of her already knew the answer. Lyra's hover chair hummed as she rose from it, not just standing but floating slightly above the ground, supported by the same energy that flowed through them all. Now, my dear healer, we learn what it truly means to transcend limitations. The golden light continued to build, filling the cabin with its radiance. As Maya felt herself beginning to transform, she couldn't help but laugh at the irony. She had started this journey trying to help someone walk again. Instead, they were both learning to fly. But that, she realized as her consciousness merged more fully with Lyra's, was a story for another chapter entirely. 1 year later, Eagle's Rest Medical Research Center. Maya stood at the window of her new office, watching snow fall on the mountains that had changed her life. The facility behind her hummed with activity, human doctors consulting with Nexian healers, researchers studying the integration of quantum and traditional medicine, patients from both species working together toward recovery. Still getting used to the view. Lyra's voice carried those familiar harmonics that never failed to make Maya smile. She turned to see her partner gliding into the room, not in a hover chair now, but suspended in a gentle field of golden energy that had become as natural as walking. Just thinking about how it all started, Maya replied. One impossible patient, one small-town clinic. One remarkable healer who wouldn't give up. Lyra moved closer, her iridescent skin shimmering with patterns of affection that Maya had learned to read as clearly as words. The Council's latest report just came in. The integration protocols we developed have successfully helped 37 other Nexians through their awakening. Maya nodded, glancing at the holographic displays showing patient data from around the world. After their transformation in the cabin, everything had changed. The Council had finally revealed the full truth. The ancient device had been part of a vast network left behind by a civilization that had discovered the key to evolutionary transcendence. But they hadn't hoarded their discovery. Instead, they had seeded countless species with the potential for transformation, waiting for the moment when those species could bridge their differences and unlock their true potential. Dr. Patel. A young intern, human, appeared in the doorway. The new patients are ready for their initial assessment. Thank you, Alex. We'll be right there. Maya gathered her tablet, now equipped with both human and Nexian medical interfaces. Ready to change some more lives? Lyra's answer was to extend her hand, golden energy flowing between them as their fingers intertwined. The connection that had begun as healer and patient had evolved into something far deeper, a bridge between worlds, between different forms of consciousness and existence. They made their way to the treatment center, where 6 new patients waited, 3 human, 3 Nexian, all showing signs of the potential for transformation. The facility had been carefully designed to accommodate both species, with quantum field generators alongside traditional medical equipment. Welcome to Eagle's Rest, Maya addressed the group, feeling Lyra's supportive presence beside her. You're here because each of you has shown signs of evolutionary potential. What you're about to experience isn't just healing, it's an awakening to possibilities you might never have imagined. Will it hurt? One of the human patients asked, eyeing the Nexian medical equipment nervously. The process is different for everyone, Lyra answered, her gentle harmonics designed to soothe. But you won't go through it alone. That's why we're here. Maya moved to the first patient's bedside, placing her hands on the diagnostic points she had discovered during her work with Lyra. Her consciousness expanded, touching the quantum fields that now felt as natural as breathing. Beside her, Lyra's energy merged with hers, creating the bridge that made transformation possible. There, Maya murmured, feeling the familiar patterns. Do you see it? Lyra's silver eyes glowed with recognition. Yes. The potential is strong in this one. As they worked, Maya reflected on how far they'd come. The small-town physical therapist and the paralyzed ambassador had opened the door to something revolutionary, not just in medicine, but in the very nature of human and Nexian potential. The facility had become a beacon of hope, proving that the greatest breakthroughs came not from one species or the other, but from what they could achieve together. Later that evening, after the day's treatments were complete, Maya and Lyra stood on the facility's observation deck. The golden energy field that surrounded them pulsed gently, keeping them warm despite the winter chill. "I got another offer from Central Medical Command today," Maya mentioned, watching the stars emerge above the mountains. "They want to open 3 more facilities like this one." "And what did you tell them?" Lyra's energy field intertwined with hers, creating patterns of light that danced in the darkness. "That we need to focus on quality over quantity. What we do here isn't just about transformation, it's about understanding. Breaking down barriers between species, between different ways of healing and being." Lyra smiled, her skin glowing with approval. "Speaking of breaking down barriers, the Council has officially recognized our partnership. The first registered human-Nexian union in history." Maya turned to her, heart full. "They're a bit late to the party, aren't they? We've been breaking rules and making history since the day you glided into my clinic." "True. Though I never expected my search for healing would lead to." Lyra gestured at the facility below them, at the golden energy that connected them, at the future they were building together. "That's the thing about healing," Maya said softly. "Real healing isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about discovering what's possible." Above them, a shooting star streaked across the sky, a Nexian ship, Maya realized, probably bringing more patients seeking transformation. Below, the lights of Eagle's Rest twinkled like earthbound stars, a beacon of hope for 2 species learning to evolve together. "Ready for another adventure?" Lyra asked, her energy field brightening with excitement. Maya laughed, letting her consciousness expand to touch the quantum fields that now felt like home. "With you? Always." As they turned back to the facility, their combined energy illuminating the night, Maya reflected that some forms of healing went far beyond the physical. Sometimes, healing one person could open the door to healing entire worlds. And sometimes, the touch that changed everything wasn't just about hands or energy or quantum fields, it was about having the courage to reach across the vastness of space and species, to connect, to grow, to transform. And that, she knew, was just the beginning.